Today I fucked up by breaking wind whilst coming. Okay, disclaimer, this happened 4 years ago, so I'm gonna tell the long version of the story. I'm a bloke that was in an abusive relationship with a woman for 6/7 years. It was horrible, but that has nothing to do with the story. Me and the abusive ex broke up, which meant I had to find a new place to live. Not easy to find a new flat in London that was in my budget. I'm lucky to have a small but very supportive group of friends around me, and a close friend of mine pointed me in the direction of a room that had become available in a guardian's property. For those that don't know, guardians basically rent out rooms in buildings that people have bought but can't get planning permission on. I seriously lucked out. Yeah, I might have had to share the building with 36 other people, but the place was secure, mostly clean, my room was a decent size, and the rent was amazing. £450 a month, all inclusive, in Fulham. When I moved in I was rather rotund at 18 stone. I managed to lose a lot of weight quite quickly by going vegan and exercising loads. As I got more comfortable with how I looked, I put myself out there. I had a few Tinder hookups, it was good fun, but I was looking for something more. One of the people I lived with in the legal squat told me, I know this girl, she's hot and cool and she has tattoos, she's gonna be here this afternoon, you should pop into the kitchen and say hello. At this point I should probably let you know that I was just learning to cook and I thought that chocolate chickpeas were a good idea. They weren't. Anyway, I popped down to the kitchen later on in the day, not knowing that said hot girl with tattoos had been told that I was coming down to say hello. Played it cool, I definitely didn't, and offered her a chocolate chickpea that she pretended to like. We chatted for a bit and that was that. 2 days later I get a WhatsApp, hey, it's name / it was nice meeting you the other day, let me know if you want to go for a drink sometime. Fuck yes. Long story short, we went for a drink and it was great. But I have no idea how to court, so we ended up on 5 of these date-like things without even kissing. So, 5th date happens, and the night ends with us watching The Fifth Element on my sofa in the legal squat. We still hadn't even held hands, let alone kissed. I'm useless when it comes to this kind of stuff. The film finishes, awful film BTW, and she points down and says, can I stay here tonight? And I, stupidly, say, if anyone's staying on the sofa, it's me, you can have the bed, I'm such a dumbass. She climbs into my bed, looking all hot as fuck, and says, Terry's definitely space for 2 of us in here. I finally get the hint and climb in. We kissed for the first time and it was incredible. Coitus ensued. It was fantastic. I'm into this girl, and she's into me. The sex is rambunctious, passionate and animalistic. She looks at me and says, are you ready to come? I say yes. She bends over, and we start doing it doggy style, getting ready to come together at the same. It's building. OMG. Through a U up. I fucking cut the cheese. I actually fucking trumped. Oh no, I said oh no. She burst into uncontrollable laughter. I fell into the fetal position. How could I ruin this moment with this super amazing girl? She's crying with laughter. Anyway, we got over it in the end. We've been together for 4 years, and she doesn't think my farts are funny anymore, but I do. Too long didn't read. Met Bo today. I fucked up a woman, engaged in coitus, parked whilst coming, still together after 4 years. Moral? Guff more. Good strong relationships are built on mutual fart humor / acceptance. It happens, you can either laugh or deal with it. We all put sometimes. You lost me at The Fifth Element was an awful movie. Give it another shot. Greatness. Also, I've been there. It's encouraging that we live in a world where someone using the phrase coitus ensued successfully gets laid. I just thought it had more linguistic flair than we fucking banged our genitals together. What a gas-tastrophe. I feel you, man. Have let it trip, unintentional, while she was swallowing my load. She kept swallowing like a champ, but I almost died from horror. Edit, fat fingers. Today I fucked up by thinking the N-word was just a generic insult. Alright, I'll give you some context. I was 8 years old at the time, and super into Top Gear. What boy doesn't like cool cars and shit, and I adored Hammond, May, and Clarkson. One day I was in a bookstore, and I found a book called Motor World. which is a collection of motoring stories from Jeremy Clarkson's worldly travels in the 90s. Now there's a piece of dialogue from Clarkson's time in Texas, when he's talking to a fellow about how he keeps his classic cars so pristine and protected. The said fellow mentioned how he gives a dose of lead to these N-words when he sees the, African American locals, trying to break into his property. Naturally my 8-year mind thought, oh, that's what Americans call a dickhead. Keep in mind that in my neck of the woods, the N-word is very rarely used. We have our own dictionary of ethnic slurs, and I had never conceived that people would invent words to degrade someone based on their ethnicity. This bit me in the ass later when my brother, 4 years older than me and much bigger, decided he wanted to wrestle and pinned me to the floor of our living room. Thinking twice, I yelled, "Get off me, you N-word," at my brother. He, being more linguistically inclined and worldly than me, stood up in astonishment and told our parents that I said a very bad racist word. Mum and Dad were very cross with me and were ready to ground me when, through my teary babbling, they realized that their youngest son was just a stupid kid who didn't know better, and explained to me the connotations of that word and why it shouldn't be said to anybody. Too long didn't read, found the N-word in a book when I was 8, yelled it at my brother during a fight. Parents got cross but realized I had no clue what it meant. My friend called his mum the C word when we were kids. Like you, he thought it was a generic insult like idiot. She was apoplectic. If I called my mum that word, I don't think I'd be here right now. Clarkson. I have a very similar story with the word bastard. Honestly, I have a similar story stemming from the live-action Cat in the Hat film and the words dirty hoe. I tried my hardest not to think of that incident while reading this, but my god, it's hilariously similar. Also, when the cat chops his tail off, son of a beep, the parents were not pleased with me repeating that one. Today I fucked up by blocking a sneeze at an interview. Hello everyone. If you were ever nervous for an interview, I hope my story helps you to calm your nerves or just gives you a laugh. I, 22F, had my first interview since COVID and I was really excited as I was running out of that Trump money. I dressed super professional in a brand new white button up and some sleek black pants and a pair of 3 inches high heels. I was looking good. Arriving there was uneventful and so was walking in. I sat down and waited to be called in. This is where the trouble begins, where I make my worst mistake ever. My nose started to tickle. I fought the urge as I didn't have a tissue and I didn't want to risk shooting snot all over myself before the interview. I kept fighting for what seemed like an hour, only 5 minutes. Finally I said fuck it and rubbed my nose to get the feeling to go away. This was mistake number 2. I get called in. I'm still looking good and feeling great. Or so I thought. My nose tickled again as we sat down. She turned away from me so I rubbed my nose again, this time a tad harder, and it seemed to have worked. Take 3 ladies and gents. She turned back to face me and she looked concerned. Are you alright, hun? Is all I heard before I felt it. The trickle of blood. I panicked and held my nose closed with my hands, but I was too late. It was flowing like a river. I didn't have tissues. I didn't have tissues. I had regrets. It was all over my hands and my white shirt. I excused myself and practically ran out of her office. My final mistake. My heel broke as I was rushing to find a bathroom. Went down like a fat kid on a seesaw. A really fat kid. I face planted on the hard, unforgiving tile floor. My blood smearing all over it. My nose still gushing. It looked like I murdered someone. My interviewer found me and looked horrified. I asked if we could reschedule while I held my shirt up from the bottom as a makeshift tissue. I didn't wait for answer. I left covered in blood and reeking of regret and embarrassment and a bit of BO. I never got a call back. Too long didn't read, got a monster nosebleed at a job interview and looked I murder someone after I was done bleeding. Never got a call back and never made that money. Sorry that happened to you, but on the bright side, any interview after this will be a cakewalk. Go crush it, call me. Thanks for this story. I am going to an interview tomorrow and you just made it 100% more terrifying. Glad I can help, smiley face. Smiley face. If you have to sneeze, just do it. Reading some comments and seeing it's only been a day, I'm sure they will follow up. I'm a supervisor and definitely would have brought you back for a second interview. Going through all that and still reaching out shows you have guts, and I want someone like you on my team. Good luck. I mean, but now you have this great story to tell. Who knows, maybe even if your interview went perfect you still wouldn't have gotten the job. Could have been someone else who was more qualified. Worst I did was faceplant a revolving door on the way into an interview. Did the whole interview with my nose clamped in a hanky. Strangely enough, I did not get that job.